So going back, sorry for this short break. I hope you're still with us. So when I finished when talking about the grand scale projects, so for example, building a huge communication port in the middle of your country, that has no application. Building a huge environmentally sustainable city, for example, as some countries, especially in the Middle East, did. Both of these usually tend not to be very effective. However, what they do is they mostly bring attention to some cause. And what we should be especially mindful of is for the public money to be spent in such a way as to actually get things done and actually contribute to a long-term positive change. If the money has to be spent, let it be spent in the best way possible. And part of that is making sure that if there is a grand scale project, that it is one that is actually not going to be a bottomless money pit, but one that is going to limit our expenditure, for example, in the future, related to the environmental externalities, for example. So all the things that the government does and all the problems that are in the environment, they all go back to this circle, this vicious circle of government failure. And it starts from, for example, you have a goal in mind that is based on some interest group wanting something, and you want this group because it's for example, a big funder to your campaign, or it is a good electoral group. It's a wide group that is going to vote for you. So you play favorites and you go with them, even if it doesn't have a positive environmental impact for the rest of the people. It still has a positive impact that is not necessarily environmentally friendly for this specific group, or for a company, because because they are big employer, for example. And this often leads to over-regulation, because you over-regulate the other industries so that to make room for this one specific group, or for this one specific industry, company. And that leads to industry fleeing. So competitors flee the market, or they decide that that's too much for them, and you are losing the ability to impact them with your regulations. They are just outside of your jurisdiction, which then leads you to having low costs of your actions and low efficiency. You are not getting much, but you are spending a lot. And that contributes to people not being too happy with the regulation, and thus further encourages you to go deeper into this one group that you moved to your side, and continue this cycle and over-regulate, and the industry continues fleeing and goes worse and worse with time. And if we are too lenient with what the government can do, if we give it too much power over the environment, and if we let it do everything it wants, then sooner or later we're going to notice that rather than improving the environment, the government is actually doing everything it can to destroy it. Because, for example, as in Russia, it is more profitable for the Russian government to increase the global temperatures rather than to decrease them, because they want to access the resources in Siberia. And because they want to access the resources in Siberia and in the Arctic Ocean, because they want to access these resources, they need to get rid of the ice caps and get rid of the permafrost that is there. So they want to increase the CO2 emissions, and they want to increase the global CO2 emissions, so that the temperatures rise, the permafrost melts, and they are able to access the resources. And that is really not an outcome that we should be aiming at. And if the incentive is big enough for the government, and if they are powerful enough to do so, they are going to go for it, because that's what governments do, and that's what people do. And governments are made up of small number of very, I won't say competent, but also very competitive and very goal-oriented people. And if their goal is to be more powerful and more rich, they are going to do that. So instead, rather than focusing on what the government can do, we should look for the sustainability of entrepreneurship, the drive towards more efficiency and more innovation on the side of the private industries. And a lot of this work is done and can be done by private companies that are either based around on the point of their creation, being more environmentally friendly, or ones that are changing themselves, reforming themselves to be more friendly for the environment. And a good example of one that reformed itself is IKEA. They are now using more and more wood that is recycled, and a lot of their products, I think the majority now, can be recycled or reused. And obviously, IKEA being one of the biggest, or I think now the biggest furniture retailers in the world, that is a huge change, and one that we should embrace and make sure that is being carried over. And the same thing with Apple, being one of the biggest electronic manufacturers in the world, and now using more and more environmentally friendly resources in their products. So, for example, recycled aluminum in the MacBooks, or the potentially controversial move to eliminate the plugs for the chargers. That is, even though it is slightly problematic, it is beneficial for the environment. Then we have the companies that are built to be environmentally friendly, like Patagonia, like Tesla, and like Fairphone. And all of these are themselves aimed at making a cleaner future, making a future where growth and consumption still exists, but it exists for all the good reasons, rather than just use and waste and get rid of it and never go back to it again. And Tesla with its electric cars, Patagonia with its sustainably produced clothing, and Fairphone with the phones which are modular and you can theoretically use forever. They are striving for that. And then you have organizations like the Alliance for Meat, Poultry and Seafood Innovation, which is focusing on improving the sustainability of the current production, and also moving the production of food and agriculture in general towards a more environmentally friendly, sustainable model. And there are a lot of ways in which that can be accomplished. Here are just some examples that I think are useful to think about and useful to observe and potentially invest or encourage with your wallets. So one are bioplastics, so plastics made out of biological matter. So, for example, from soybeans or from wheat. Then you have improving manufacturing efficiency, which all of these participate in. So improving our quality of production, our productivity, so that we are producing more for less, as we talked about before. Improving our recycling technology, both of plastics and of glass, metal, all the things that we throw out, we should strive for them to go back to the economy. We are not there yet, but it is one that we should definitely look out for, because it is going to everything. Theoretically, we could recycle everything, 100% of what we throw out could theoretically to some extent be recycled. However, a lot of that, especially with plastics, it's not profitable. It's just not profitable, which means that even if we could, it's very expensive to do so. And through innovation, through improving our recycling methods, we might arrive, we should arrive at a point where it is profitable, where it is cheaper than getting things from the ground. And we should be striving for that because it's going to be a huge part of our strive towards a greener future. Digital technology, so digitalization, the pandemic has proved to us that a lot of things that we've been doing with wasting a lot of resources and wasting a lot of paper, of fuel, can be done digitally. And I hope that at least part of that is going to stay with us, and we are going to embrace this further, learning how to function without having to waste so much. And that is part of electric and hydrogen-powered transport. So rather than using fuel, petrol, or whatnot, we can get around in a more environmentally friendly, in a more sustainable, and one that is not causing that much harm through CO2, but also through sulfur and with nitrogens and all the other things you can find in combustion engines. We can improve both our quality of living and our environmental sustainability, which then ties into carbon capture. So the ability to reverse the harm that we have already committed. So turning the clock back and putting the CO2, putting the various emissions back into land, back into trees, back into various both natural and unnatural synthetic sources where we can capture this emissions. Then vertical farming, so improving efficiency of agricultural production, which is now very, very wasteful, but with vertical farming can be more efficient and much less environmentally destructive. Then better energy generation and storage. So making sure that at some point all the energy is produced from renewables or from nuclear, and in general one that is doesn't require constant digging up of coal or of gas and then burning it and destroying the environment, both in terms of exploitation and in terms of pollution. And then meat substitutes, as we talked before, also very important in eliminating the negative impact of humans on the world. And now, taking all this, looking at why should we even bother with doing all this social change, individual aspects, companies, innovation, why is it better? Or why is it more important to include rather than waiting for the government or just leaving it up to government? Well, first of all sides benefit. As Adam Smith outlined in his work, the beauty of capitalism is that all changes are voluntary if they are done right. So only if both sides benefit, there's going to be an exchange. And in a market setting, that's going to be the case. Whilst when a government does that, there's always going to be someone who is going to lose out of the equation. Another thing is a lower chance of reactionism. If we make sure that the society is on our side in making reforms, and if they are contributing, and if they are doing it actively, there won't be a reason to react, because they are not going to react against themselves. If we don't impose something on them, well, and they make the change themselves, they are not going to go against it. So through the market side or through the voluntary side, this can be accomplished much easier than through the government. Then we have conscious actions. So it gives us the benefit of people thinking about what they are doing. And whilst obviously this kind of mental processes, they take time, take energy, in the long run, they become natural. Just like the same way as you pick your favorite bread type, it takes you a lot of time to figure out which one is the one you prefer. But now when you go to a shop, you already know which one to pick. And that's the same way as we should think about what we are doing in terms of our environmental choices. Then we have also the ability to discourage companies from escaping regulations. So rather than over-regulating the economy and kicking out everyone that doesn't want to comply, we have the benefit of everyone who benefits from being here and everyone from whom we benefit from them being here. They stay here because they have no reason to go if it's not profitable for them to do so. And thus, if we are not going to profit from it, they are not going to move. And the last one is that we encourage integration of communities, both on the local level, so you coming together with your friends and with your neighbors and cleaning up the local trail or farming a community garden. But on the other side also, integrating a global community, because you feel that you are all participating in that. You don't feel that you are all competing with each other for who is going to over-regulate. And then, like, we don't like the Irish, for example, because they have fewer regulations, so of lower taxes, and all the companies move there. But instead, you can encourage organizations across the world to work with each other, people to move from one place to another, to introduce the positive changes, the innovations that they have created on another side of the world, and be able to work together for a better future, because it profits both of the sides rather than just one of them living off the exploitation of the other one. And before I finish and move to the final conclusions, there are two graphs that I wanted to show you. So on the left and one on the right. And both of them show that it doesn't have to be the government to do all the things. It can be us. It can be us through our personal decisions. 78% of Americans are purchasing green products and services, and they are doing it consciously. They are not doing it randomly. They make these choices because they believe that it is going to be more profitable for them in the long run for their environment. And a lot of people believe that their actions have positive consequences. And the more we empower them to do so, and the more we show to them how much they can do, how big of an impact their actions have on the world, and how much good they can do with their money, with the time, with the skills, with the resources, the happier they will be with the actions, and the more encouraged they will be to make these actions, to make this positive change. And we should always be striving towards that, and that's what market environmentalism is all about. So in conclusion, I hope that you learned something from this presentation. And what I want you especially to leave with is the thought that you can make the change happen. You don't have to go to New York City and stand in front of the United Nations building and chant that you demand changes. You can make the changes yourself. They may not have as big of an impact right now as a secretary of the Security Council can do, but they still, in the grand scale of things, they have a huge impact. And you, in your hands and in your wallet, with the ability that the capitalist system gives you, have all the right in the world, and you have all the ability in the world to make these positive changes happen. And I hope that learning about how to do them and thinking about what more you can do, you are going to be more encouraged to do so. And with that, with all of us, at least the majority of us, doing this in our everyday life, coming together and making these decisions, I believe that we can achieve a both greener and a freer world for us, for our kids, grandkids, and also for the various flora and fauna across the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcin.
Sorry. A bit of applause.
So we are going to now ask some questions. Please write them into the chat window. Meanwhile, while you are writing, I will tell you about Students for Liberty. Students for Liberty is an organization which main goals are to spread the world of liberty, and such as personal, business, and everything the word means. You can join us through you can contact us and then potentially join us through our Facebook page, or you can write us an email or just Google Slovak Students for Liberty. Do we have any questions, guys? In the chat.
Well, we had in the previous live stream, but I believe it was Michal asking the questions, so maybe you can repeat them.
Okay, so my first question, because I love reading different books and magazines, articles, and so on. So what books would you recommend if one would like to learn more about this approach to environmentalism, other than, of course, the Green New Market? No. Well, the publication the BCA is made.
Sure. Sure. So I mean, definitely. So I wanted actually to recommend Green Market Revolution, but I see that you have you nudged me away from that. But yeah, definitely read Green Market Revolution. I would encourage to read the book by Mark Schellenberger. Let me just. I think it was Mark Schellenberger. Definitely Schellenberger. I'm not sure about the Michael Schellenberger. Yeah. So he wrote a book about okay, the name is that one is The Death of Environmentalists, but also he wrote several other books I think are very useful to look at. He's a market environmentalist, and his work in general is very, very useful. Matt Ridley also wrote a very good book on innovation. Another one that is very useful to look at. I think in terms of introduction to market environmentalism, that's a good start. The problem with market environmentalism right now is that a lot of the works are currently not that book type, rather like articles or journals or stuff like that. Pretty much the first compendium of the market environmentalist knowledge is the Green Market Revolution. So if I were to give you a starting point with a lot of the authors that I talked about and much more, I would go with Green Market Revolution, because you have like 30 different authors coming together, plus a lot more in the preface. So I encourage starting with that. And even if I wasn't in BCA, I would still encourage going with this. But yeah, Schellenberger and Matt Ridley. Although later Matt Ridley, in terms of environment, is much better than early Matt Ridley, because before he was a bit more skeptic of the climate, of the human impact of on climate change. However, now he converted which shows that he's a pretty good academic, because if one is able to acknowledge the mistake and when showed with new data, that is a admirable thing to do, I think.
And I also think that you have it published. Your publication. I'm sorry, the name keeps slipping from my mind. The
Green Market Revolution.
Yes, you have it published, I think, on your website as well, right?
Yes. You
Yes.
can download it for free from greenmarketrevolution.eco.
Okay, so I think maybe what we could do is also share it in the
Sure.
event. That's a good idea.
Definitely.
Questions? Any more questions?
Me, I had a question that what do you think is the future of meat? Like, what do you think that we are heading towards a future of a laboratory type meat, or will we have genetically modified animals? And the second part of the question, how or if should state incentivize those fourth industrial revolution innovations in meat?
Sure. So, are we going to a full-scale, 100% synthetic or biologically, so like flora-based? No, I don't think so. What I think instead we are going to reach at some point is, let's say, like in developed countries that already reached this stage, I would say 80%, and then 20% being from like living animals, but that I think would be on one side for the rich, and also for like special occasions, and on the other for the people who are the poorest, basically. So the same way as you have with industries that have died over the years or have diminished. So like people who produce barrels, or people who produce like wooden wheels for horses to use in their carriages. These are either used by the richest who can afford them for the recreational activities, or by the people who have to use them because they can afford otherwise. And that's what I think we are going to get to at some point, just because it's not going to be profitable to have a animal-based meat production. I think that with the growth of efficiency, the ability to produce something without having to have a huge land, a lot of water, a lot of manpower, having to transport live animals, just all the hassle of that, I think in the next 50 years, I would say, it's just going to be too much to justify it, and it's just going to be for the people who can afford it, and or who can't afford even the more the most basic synthetic. Although I think that's going to be a very small number of people, and I think it's going to be in countries that are still not at this point even not developed enough to even have the synthetic aspect. And I hope that they will, but there's always going to be some North Korea, and we have to, like, that's always going to be somewhere there, and that needs to be taken into account. Going to your second question, what the government should do, I don't really think
my question was if there is something to do for the government.
I think right now there are a good few regulations that limit the ability. Okay, I know that the FDA in the US has a pretty long process of approving the synthetic-based food and GMOs as well. So they're regulating that a bit. Obviously, it still needs to be checked. Obviously, it still needs to be developed properly. But I think with the level of potential ability to sue someone, that is going to be a good of a self-regulatory aspect in itself. Some level of regulations, sure. I don't think we are able to politically get rid of all of them. However, and I don't think that they should, some of them, but definitely some level of the regulation would be helpful. On another side, maybe using the ability to be an authority to show that, hey, these are options. You can use them. You can eat them. You can, or for example, you can also introduce some tax breaks on food production that is done through the lab, let's say, made. And another aspect would be to stop subsidizing a lot of food production, because a lot of food production is subsidized by no means to make cheaper food, but rather to make it in any way profitable for farmers to produce it. And a lot of that food goes to waste. A lot of that food is not in any way efficient in its production. That's something that the European Union is doing a lot. So as long as the farmers are a big electorate, it's going to be very hard to bring any end to the subsidies that are currently for farming. However, I hope that if the consumer market grows for the meat substitutes, that might change over time, and I hope. And I would also encourage a lot of farmers to invest in this kind of initiatives. The same way as the biggest oil companies are right now investing in renewables, I think, and they like, if you go on a Shell website, for corporate Shell website, all the main page is about sustainability. And that's the same thing that the farmers should do, rather than being on the site where they oppose it until they can't, and they are pushed out of the market. They don't have anything. They should instead invest and adjust in their production towards this new market, because I think it's going to be a big one, and I hope it's going to be one that is going to have a big positive impact on our planet.
Any other questions, guys, or somebody in the chat?
If there's nothing in the chat, maybe I would offer, I don't know how we're doing time-wise, one more question. I know we briefly spoke about Extinction Rebellion, and obviously let's say their antics are not the best, I'd say, and very... Anyways, to my question, what would you say is like the most positive thing about Extinction Rebellion? What is the good thing that they maybe, despite all their questionable actions?
I think they are bringing a lot of attention to themselves, and a lot of that is negative attention, but a huge lot of that is just attention, is the ability to show to people that, hey, there is this big issue, do something with it. And to some extent, it's paradoxically a good thing that they are not giving us the solutions, because we can provide the solutions. We ourselves can provide them. And I'm glad that BCA is there and other organizations are here. For example, Students for Liberty, to show what can be done. Not only that the issue is there, which I'm very glad that the likes of Extinction Rebellion, Greta Thunberg, and etc., that they brought this to the public attention. Now it's time for us to use this, to capitalize on this, and to show people how they can make the world a better place. And I really hope that that we are going to benefit from that, and we already are, because a lot of young people, also thanks to what Extinction Rebellion has been doing, learn about the issues that are facing us. And obviously, a lot of what is being done is not bringing a positive attention, one that we have to straighten the narrative on. But still, overall, I think it's so far it's been for the better. Even if it means that we sometimes have to go in and show that, hey, that's not what we all think.
All right, thank you. Marcus.
Okay, so I would like to thank Martin, and
My pleasure.
we are going to move, if you have time, to our offline discussion, only in the group.
Sure, I have like 15 minutes.
So can you please put the link there?
Where would you like to?
Oh no, not you.
Okay.
Like our technical stuff.
Okay, sure.
Meaning Marek.
The stuff